Hello everyone and welcome back. I am Miss Hazina. I'm your lecturer for database topic. So let's continue with part 3. We will be talking about database management system, which is DBMS, and their environment and its users. Okay, we have seen that the problem with file system in part 2. So if you have forgotten what are the file system issues, please refer back to the part 2. So with that issues, we need to we evolve into database system. Okay, so database is actually a logically related data stored in the single logical data repository. In simply said, database is a base for data. Okay, so means that whatever data that you collect, you will be storing the data in a place where we call that a database. Right, so this is the comparison of database system versus file system. Okay, in this example, you can see that for database system, right, we can have one database base for you to collect all of the data. For example, employee data, customer data, sales data, inventory data, and accounts. You put all of the data in one container. We call that database. And you can also group the data, and what we term it as you put them into one table. So one table for employees, store just employees data, one table for customers to store all customers data only, a table for sales data, a table for inventory data, and a table for accounts data. And all these data, okay, via this one database is linked with DBMS, database management system, which is a software that we will look into this after this, and can be extracted, can be used by all users. So personnel department, okay, through DBMS can retrieve whatever data that is related with them. For example, customer data, or for example, employees data. Sales department can also access the same database, but they can only access the data that is related with them. For example, sales data, for example, customers data. Accounting department also can access the same database that contains all of the data, but they are limited to only data that are related with them, for example, accounts data. So you can only have one database, where in one database you can have all of the groups of the data. That is a database system. That is why we call database system is a shared logically, right, for all users to access it. While a file system, yeah. So for personnel department, they have their own file system for the data for employees. For sales department, they have 3 file system. Okay, customers data, sales data, and inventory data. Accounting department has one file system, which is accounts. But you may know that sometimes personnel department also needs to see inventory data. Okay, accounting department also needs to see sales data. So if this scenario happen, this department has to request for access for the data that is not theirs. So sometimes there are always issue that the owner of the data do not let the data to be accessed by other department. Okay, those are the issues here, and these are the differences between database system environment and file system environment. Alright, so database system is composed of 5 main components, which are hardware, okay, software, people, procedures, and data. So for we to set up a database system, we of course have to have the hardware. Okay, and when you have the hardware, it is pointless if you don't have the software. So what are the software that you may need to install in the hardware? The operating system, the DBMS software, which is database management system, as well as the application program and other utility software. All right, so this DBMS is we have several types of DBMS. Yeah, DBMS is actually a software that manage the data. You can say that DBMS is a software that is actually an intermediate between users and the data itself, the database, right? Example of DBMS, what? Oracle, Microsoft Access, MySQL, what else? Microsoft SQL Server, yeah, Postgres SQL. Those are example of DBMS. The third elements, the third components, okay, is people. Of course, you have to have users or people to run the DBMS, and there's a procedures. Procedures are rules and regulations that has to be imposed so that the environment can works well. The database system environment can works well. Lastly, of course, the data. You have to have the data. Then this is what we call a database system. All right, so this is the database system environment that is related with user. Okay, so we have the application program. So end users will be using the application program. All right, programmers or analysts will be writing the application program that is used by the end user. Okay, the application program to work, it has to use the data, whether to display data, whether to store data. So application program will have to access the DBMS utilities in terms of the data. All right. And this DBMS, this data has to be installed, has to be stored in the hardware. All right. And this software is needed to be managed by few roles of database. Yeah. One of the roles is database designer, who gonna design the database administrator, who will create the database based on the design, and a system administrator who oversees all of this process. Yeah, it supervises the database administrator as well as database designer. Okay, so this is the environment of database system, right? So what is DBMS, database management system? Management system means that a system or a software that manage the database. Okay, so it is said a collection of programs that manage database structure and control access to data. So you store your data in a container, what we call that database. For the user or for the application to use the data, they have to go to middle person, which we call DBMS. This is the fella who gonna do all the manipulation of data. This is the fella who gonna manage that database. This is the fella who gonna control the access of the data. Why do you need to control the access of the data? Not all data should be accessible to all users. Okay, for example, salary data can only be accessed by HR people. Sales data can only be accessed by sales people. Okay, so not all. This is what we call you have to have an access right for you to extract or to retrieve the data. Possible to share data among multiple applications or users. So this, when you have a DBMS, it allows you to, it allows the data to be shared among multiple applications, and this makes the data management more efficient and effective. All right, so these are the basic components of a database system. You have data, you have the processing, and of course you have the information. Information you can be termed into two, which is you can produce reports, you can also produce decisions. Yeah, data is where you have to start with generation or collection of data, storage of the data, as well as the retrieval of the data for the processing. Okay, during the processing stage, some tools may be needed to use, and some queries may need to be executed. So role and advantages of the DBMS. Who are the people who will be using DBMS, who will be using database? First and foremost, of course, end users. End users have better access to more and better managed data. It promotes integrated view of organizations operations. Probability of data inconsistency is greatly reduced because there's a middle person who manage the data. Possible to produce quick answers to ad hoc queries. So how do these users got data? they will present queries, okay, what they want to see. For example, you open Google, and then you said, what is the meaning of database system? So the middle person will be the web page, okay, web server will pass to the web page will pass to the web server. The web server will connect to database via DBMS. This DBMS will try to find what are the answers for that particular search. Okay, so who are the people, or who are the roles? What are the roles? End users will be using the application program to request for some data. Okay, so that request will be brought over through DBMS. Okay, so DBMS is the one who has to find what are the data, what are the information that this end user wants. Okay, for example, they want to see customers data, or they want to see invoices data. And then once the data has been accessed, can be found, it will pass back to the DBMS. The DBMS will pass back the data to end user. So one of the role is end user. Okay, so why database design is important? Because it defines the database expected use. You can simply said, you can store data. Okay, why you need to store data? Because you want to produce information. Why you want to have that good information? Because you want to make a good decision. Why you need to make good decisions? So that you will be the first to make good decision as compared to your competitors. Alright, different approach needed for different types of database. You can avoid redundant data. Okay, also poorly designed database generates error. So everyone can, I always tell my students, everyone can develop or create a database, but the important and crucial part is the database design, because that comes from your understanding of the database concept, that comes from the creativity of you design the database. Yeah, so poorly designed database will lead to bad decision, because you somehow will store data poorly, and then can lead to failure of organization. So what are among the DBMS functions, right? First, data dictionary management. What is data dictionary? Book dictionary, when you want to find word, okay, what is the meaning of transformation? For example, you go to the dictionary, you open, find the word transformation, okay, they have the meaning. Same function with DBMS. Data dictionary shows or defines the data elements and their relationship. Okay, next is data storage management. It allows data to be stored. Okay, data transformation and presentation, it translates the logical request into commands to physically locate and retrieve the requested data. And next is the security management. DBMS enforces the security elements such as user security and data privacy within the database. Next, multi-user access control. Remember, as I have explained just now, not every user can access all of the data. So DBMS allows the access control elements. Yeah. So uses sophisticated algorithm to ensure multiple users can access the database concurrently with compromising the integrity of the database. For example, what does it mean? You have a branch in Kelana Jaya, you have a branch in Kuala Lumpur. Okay, both of you needs to access the same data that is located in Klang, for example. Okay, so this DBMS act as the middle person to manage the access of data. They will make sure that the data is consistent. Okay, the data is of the latest version, and both party can able to get the data, the correct data. Okay, other functions is backup and recovery management. It provides backup and data recovery procedures. Data is priceless. Okay, so when you have a database, you have to also think or plan or strategize how you're going to back up the data. Because what happens if suddenly your database down, and then the data lost? Okay, data is very priceless. So DBMS allows backup and recovery management. It also allows data integrity management, promotes and enforces integrity rules, so that, for example, when you want to store students' information, of course, you have to have student ID to be stored. So if you allow students to enter the data, sometimes they may forget to enter the student's ID, which that is the meaning, one of the example of the data integrity. So it enforces when you fill in form, if you notice, when you fill form, when you forgot to fill in one mandatory field, error message will prompt that say that you have to put in student ID. Okay, this is for the integrity management. Database Access Language and Application Programming Interface. So DBMS allows multiple languages and application programming interfaces, because database, we can have one database, one same database, to be used by different kinds of platforms, different kinds of application programs. Yeah, so it allows on the application programming interfaces. Database communication interface allow database to accept end user requests via multiple different network environment. So having said that, so DBMS is very crucial, and you have to use DBMS so that you can manage your data easily. Okay, so this is the difference between file versus database. We actually have done this in previous slide. So just go through this. The data is distributed in different files and cannot be shared. While database, the data is stored at one place, one database, and it can be shared easily. The data integrity checks are difficult to apply, very difficult. Okay, like I explained just now, if you have 10 file system, you have to update, you have to make sure the data in all 10 file system are the same. For database, it provides constraint for data integrity. For file base, it provides poor security, because there's very limited security elements, where in database DBMS, it provides data security. File base, less complex system. However, database DBMS is a very complex system. The cost is very less than DBMS. Of course, the great features comes with cost. So it is costly system and more chance of failure. So that is why DBMS works with a company. Yeah, file system usually small company or individual. All right, so that's about all for part 3 about database management system. That actually conclude or wrap up all of our content for topic 1, introduction to database. Okay, thank you very much.